Welcome to Spreadsheet Geek. In this video, we'll take a look at nesting a match function within an index function as an alternative to using the VLOOKUP function. I'm told that some people do this all the time and never use VLOOKUPs. This video will cover the 4 reasons you might want to use index match as an alternative to the VLOOKUP function. This video was made using Microsoft Excel 2019. Let's quickly review what a VLOOKUP does. I did another video on this if you want more detail. We have a table of information. This could be any information, but in this case it's an inventory listing. We have part numbers, part names, prices, and quantities available. We, in another table somewhere, want to look up a part number's price. So let's put a VLOOKUP formula into cell G3. It's going to tell us to look for the value or item in F3, which is this 144. Go to table A2 to D5, which is this entire table, and go over to column 3 once you find the 144 in the first column. That's how a VLOOKUP works. Now let's consider using index match as an alternative. Let's first look at the match function. All the match function does is return the position of an item in a column or row. Let's find the position of this 144 in a row using the match function. The match function is a little bit tricky in one way. The first part is pretty simple. You state your lookup value and you highlight the lookup array, which for us will be this row. Where it gets tricky is this match type. Now with a VLOOKUP, remember you only have 2 options, true or false. True being an approximate match and false being an exact match. With the match function, you have 3 options. You have 1, 0, and -1. You don't need to memorize this because it's right here to tell you. The 1, which is the default, will find the largest value that is less than or equal to the lookup value, and the lookup array must be placed in ascending order. Well, guess what? Our lookup array is not in ascending order. It's in a jumbled order where the largest value is here, the next largest here, and then the smallest is here. You choose exact match, which would be a 0. It will find the first value that is exactly equal to lookup, and your lookup array can be in any order. This is the most flexible and probably the most commonly used. Then there's -1, where it will find the smallest value that is greater than or equal to your lookup value, and the lookup array must be placed in descending order. So let's choose 0 for an exact match, and we should get a 1. And that's right, of course, because our lookup value is in the first position of the 4 columns. Now, how does match work with a column array? Same way. Select the column array, and I'm going to use a 0 for an exact match, and this should return a 3, which it does. Just remember, whenever you use the match function, make sure you specify your match type, and the default, if you enter nothing, is a 1, which is not an exact match. So let's look at the index function now. The index function can be used in an array, a row, or a column. It's a little different from the match function, where the match function returns a numerical position in a row or column. The index function returns the actual item. So if I highlight that array and I say row 3, 3, I get 350, which is the 3rd row, 3rd column. I can also use the index function here in a row and simply return the 4th item, 4th one over. Likewise, in a column, I get the third item. This column index function is the one we're going to use when we substitute index match for a VLOOKUP. If you were to visualize what Excel is doing when it runs a VLOOKUP formula like this, you would say, well, it's going to look for this value in F3 in this array A2 to D5. It's going to proceed down the leftmost column until it finds it, and then report back whatever's in column 3. You could visualize an index match function in a similar way. It works a little differently. The match function is embedded within the index function, and we'll see this in a minute, but the match function will be performed first. It'll go down any column. It doesn't have to be to the left or to the right of anything until it finds the value it's looking for. And then the index function will direct to move either to the left or to the right from that column and report back what's in another column. When I write these, I always write the match part first. I state my lookup value, and that'll be found in this column. So remember now, the match function is all we've entered, and it's not reporting back a price. We don't have any $3 items. This is a position of the 144 in this column. Now let's embed this match function within an index function. And our index will be referencing a column, and we'll just close that off at the end. And there we have our substitute for a VLOOKUP formula. Now you might notice there's one mistake I made, or potential mistake, in that in my match function I did not enter a match type. I would strongly recommend you enter that as a 0, but in this case the default is a 1, which works when your values are in ascending order, which they just happen to be in our case. But I would always recommend you enter a match type on your match function. It's not going to change our outcome in this case. I said at the beginning of the video there were some reasons why index match could be better than VLOOKUP in some cases. Two reasons are kind of far-fetched and probably don't come up very often. One is that older versions of Excel, and I have not verified this, but I believe it's Excel 2010 and prior, they have a cell limitation of 255 characters for a VLOOKUP reference. I am told that this 255 character limit applies to VLOOKUPs like this, but not in this case. So we could have more than 255 characters here. And again, that's only with older versions of Excel. I have not verified it. A second reason, which again probably doesn't come up very often, is that index match uses less processing power and time than VLOOKUP. This is what I've read. If you're working with enormous tables of information, it may be a factor for you. The third reason is a very good reason to use index match over VLOOKUP. If I were to insert a row into my lookup table, both the VLOOKUP and the index match continue to report the correct value. They've simply expanded automatically their data arrays to row 6 in both cases, with the index to match function and the VLOOKUP function. Let's undo that. But when you insert a column, my VLOOKUP formula falls apart. Actually, it's still working, but it's static on column number 3. So VLOOKUPs are static with respect to columns, while index match automatically expanded my array and jumped over to column D from column C, where this was prior. Index match is said to be dynamic in this respect. The last reason I'll give you is a very good reason also to use index match. Index match can look up to the left or to the right, and I'll demonstrate this by inserting a column here. I can take my lookup column and move it to the right of my return column here. And you can see my VLOOKUP formula kind of falls apart there, but index match is continuing to work. It's automatically changed the match column to column D, and the index column is still remaining in column C. So that's a huge advantage. You can look up in either direction with index match. I hope you found the content of this video interesting and informative, and you put index match into your toolbox to use when the time comes. Please consider giving me a thumbs up. Thumbs ups count on YouTube. And consider becoming a subscriber. I'll be releasing one new video weekly. Thank you for visiting Spreadsheet Geek.